And we're all set.
Awesome. Well, we'll call this meeting to order. This meeting of the Housing Authority of the County of Monterey Board of Commissioners. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Zulika, roll call, please.
Okay. Chair Hans Buder,
Present.
Vice Chair Kathleen Ballesteros, absent. Commissioner Kevin Healy,
Present.
Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
Present.
Commissioner Maria Orozco.
Present.
Commissioner Yuri Anderson,
Here.
and that concludes the roll call.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 3, comments from the public. Gabby, are there any folks from the public in person or on the phone who are wishing to speak tonight?
There is no one in person. And no one online. Oh, yes, Atticus has raised his hand.
Hi, thank you. Can I speak?
Yes, sir, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Atticus Rotoli. My wife, Carrie, and I are very active volunteers out at a place in Marina called Pueblo del Mar. It's run in collaboration with Sun Street Centers and Housing Authority. And we've been there for a few years now, and we have a wonderful opportunity. We have been engaging various organizations to help us do more work out there as volunteers. And there's a other natural resource committee that has offered us approximately $12,000 in materials and lots of labor to help us really develop the area where we work. We volunteer in the community garden there for that specific housing project. And we have a really, really nice opportunity in front of us. And we have given the agreement that needs to be reviewed by Housing Authority to Socorro. She's our contact point. And I just wanted to, introduce myself and just put that information out there in front of you, I guess for 2 reasons. One is, are you aware of the program at Pueblo del Mar? And what we're doing is volunteers out there with the garden to support that housing community. And 2, are we following the right path to get this agreement looked at so we can get additional funding and resources out there? That's it for me.
Well, thanks, Atticus. And I wasn't, familiar with what you all are doing out there. From the sounds of it, it sounds awesome. I, would love to, hear more. I guess I would just say, Zulika, I'm assuming that somebody on the staff is going to follow up with Atticus about this.
Yes.
Okay, great. So Atticus, somebody's going to follow up with you.
That's excellent. Thank you. Thank you so
I'm sorry.
much.
You can get some from Jose.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining tonight, Atticus, and we appreciate the help that you're providing for residents out there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. Any other comments tonight from the public? Okay, well, we'll move on to item 4, which is a service award for Carol Vargas for 20 years of service. Zulika?
Okay, Carol's not here today, but Carol is one of the property managers. And in the short time that I've been here, I've seen that she's a very exemplary employee, and she's always really positive and cheerful. So I am proud to say that we are giving her this certificate of service for her 20 years, and we'll make sure that she gets it when she returns to work.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's always congratulations to Carol. It's remarkable how many of the staff here at HACM have been here for such extended periods of time. which is fantastic. So congratulations, Carol. We're going to move on to item number 5, which is the consent agenda. Are there any comments on, I think this just includes the minutes from our regular board meeting on August 28th. Does anyone have any comments on those minutes? I had a quick comment. It looks like, I could be wrong, but it looks like these minutes were put together by AI. And in reading through them, there were a few kind of weird, things where I almost felt like maybe we would benefit from having a human write it. So maybe that's something that we can consider. I don't know that we're 100% there yet with this, and I think that there's a benefit to having a human put it together. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, we can approve them with the necessary adjustments and corrections. And we've been using this thing called Read Assistant, but then you have to go into that and you can like recap the meeting, but then Gabby still have to put all of it together. So maybe it kind of got mixed in some of the sentencing that it was using on Read Assistant when she was creating the minutes, but we'll make sure to check them better and, not have it looking so robotic, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely felt a little robotic. Okay. Well, I guess I'd entertain a motion here on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Chair Hans Booter,
Yes.
Commissioner Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Maria Orozco,
Yes.
Commissioner Yuri Anderson,
Abstain.
and that concludes the vote.
Okay. We're going to move on to item 6, which is reports of committees. We are going to start with the Personnel Committee. Commissioner Ballesteros.
She's absent.
She's up. We didn't have one.
No Personnel Committee meeting. And for the Finance and Development Committee meeting, there was also no Finance and Development Committee meeting. Zulika, how about the Michi? Give us a Michi update.
I have one for in my board packet, but we don't attend the meetings. They're not open to us as they were before.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to item 7, which is the Executive Director's report.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, we got a couple of things. One, the violation waiver that we got from HUD back in December. We completed all the tasks on the housing authority side in May and sent everything in. The city's having problems with one of the requirements that HUD placed on them, but they gonna release it at the same time. So that's why that's still on their ongoing. We did everything on the housing authority end. We just waiting for the city to complete their part, and they only have one open item. Another thing, the city has guaranteed us the funds for the landlord incentive. They're just doing some restructuring over there. And so they haven't finalized everything with United Way, and that's why we don't have the funds yet. But they did assure us that they're working on it and they're gonna try to get it over here as soon as possible. Let's see, with the County of Monterey, the bridge funding application was awarded. We're working on the MOU and working on the capital needs assessment, as well as working with HHS to get permissions to do some of the rehab work and let them know the plan moving forward, because they got 2 deed restrictions on the property. Let's see. Oh, just one item of note for the state of California, they did pass the bill limiting the amount of security deposits, but it doesn't take effect until July 1st, 2024. That's important for our Section 8 department, And they normally stay 3 months ahead of time, so we just gonna keep track on it. So when they start doing July research or certifications or move-ins, we'll make sure that they're following the new law that was put in place. Let's see, we're working on Rent Cafe. And I do have some media items, but we'll discuss most of that in one of the closed sessions. In development, we are working to get a tax credit application ready for February. Hopefully it'll be for parcel B and one for Greenfield. We'll have more on that at the next meeting because we're doing a schedule of activities and then a checklist for everything that has to be turned in. And the one more thing on the property management. HUD has just put out there a note for a raw service coordinator. Service coordinator is paid for by HUD. We can get up to $272,000 for a 3-year time frame. And what the person do, they work on a property that they help them limited English speaking families, they helping people with education, they helping them with health and wellness. They can also do employment and credit. But since we have FSS, I think the 3 items that we need to do is the limited English proficiency, health and wellness, and then education. And so we're gonna put an application together. If it gets awarded, we can get up to 3 coordinators and we can have one for 3 of the RAD sites. So they'll work with those people to get them all the supportive services to help them meet those goals. And they have 3 years to meet the goals. But they link them up with, community partners and things like that, and it kind of feed off FSS too at the same time. So we'll be strengthening our supportive services coordinations for all of the residents that we have.
That's great.
Yeah, we're gonna look, fingers crossed that we get awarded, so we're gonna try the application for it.
So if awarded, how do you determine which sites would receive?
You tell them in the application, you let them know the RAD sites will be best because 1, they was formerly public housing. And so then 2, you can do multifamily now.
Oh, good.
And so they multifamily. So you can only get 3 coordinators at a time and each one can have at least 50 people. So that's why I said we probably could get one for all 3 sites where they have their own person and then make them work as a network. And they could work with the FSS too to help them to do the 3 areas they have, which is the health and wellness, the education, and the limited English proficiency, and then kind of shuffle that into FSS, which is the credit and, employment and things like that. And hopefully we'll be able to become a housing counseling agency, which is kind of the end goal. And then we could get another counselor who will help people purchase homes, make sure they have rent counseling, just take Section 8 home ownership to the next level. So that's the 3rd part of this plan. So hopefully we'll get this. And then if we do, we're working on the application for the housing counseling. You have to be an agency for 1 year. So it wouldn't be till 2025 that we can apply to get somebody under that. But that'll be perfect because then if we get the service coordinator, we'll have had that for right at a year. The FSS program is doing stronger and all that strengthens our application. Yeah, so I like to try to get as many supportive services as we can to help our people grow. So again, hopefully we'll get funded, especially since you never had anybody. And then we ought to have somebody for all 3 of them. And that concludes my report, unless somebody got a question or anything. Oh, one more thing I forgot. The VMS corrective action plan was submitted. I am gonna send it out to the board, but it hasn't been finalized. So as soon as HUD finalizes it and accept it, I'll send it out to the board so you can know what our plan is moving forward and what restrictions we're held to.
Awesome. Thanks, Zalika. Any questions for Zalika on her report?
One question, Chair.
Go for it.
On the AB 12, is there any expectation or do we have any plan on helping to communicate to landlords this new requirement? Do we have an outreach plan or?
We're gonna have a landlord portal on our website. Plus, by this time they get ready to do this, we'll have another symposium. Because we say we was gonna try to have one every April. So that'll be perfect timing for the HCV program actually, so that's probably around the time they'll be getting ready to start the Julys. And so between the website portal and then the landlord symposium, plus, some flyers and stuff here and there, if it changes or time gets in a crunch, we'll communicate it to all the landlords.
And everything I need. Well,
Oh, okay.
Zalika, I had two quick questions. One was on that same point. Can you tie the connection to me between not being able to have a security deposit greater than 1 month's rent, and draw the connection between that and the impact it would have on landlord incentives? Like, are the landlord incentives somehow structured as an additional security deposit, or how does that work?
The landlord incentives, they can ask for up to 2 or 3 month security deposits, depending on which program, especially if it's EHB. So if 1 month is $4,000, sometimes they'll ask you for $12,000 just to let a hard-to-house family move in.
Yeah.
And so that's gonna be the program that's gonna be impacted the most, because now the landlords will only have to get the $4,000 instead of getting 12.
Mhm.
So that incentive, is gonna lose a little of the weight that it's had to help house people, but hopefully not too much. But that one, mainstream as well, that's another program where the head of the household or somebody in the family is disabled. So sometimes the landlords will want extra security deposit, and right now they can go up to, 3 times the regular security deposit in some of the programs. But when this law passes, or rather when it becomes effective, they won't be able to do that. We won't be able to pay now for that.
Yeah. You hope people don't stop participating because of that, then it becomes the law of unintended consequences. But and then my other question was, the 4%. I feel like I'm not 100% sure on the structure of all the deals, but I feel like a lot of the stuff we've done in the past, we've been fortunate enough to get the 9% tax credits. And obviously the 4% are less, less generous. Curious, when you guys are thinking about the capitalization on these things, that gap funding, would that come from the city, or how are you guys thinking about making that math work?
Well, we actually gonna do the 4 and the 9, but the 9% will be later. The 4% are the one that we'll have to have the application ready for February. And then the 9%, I think it was March or April. And so right now we have 4 developments that we were looking at doing. So we looked at each one to see which one would be easier to get the 4%, which one would be better for the 9%. And we've been talking to the city about some of the funds that they have. So they should, with the funds the city has and the way the deals are gonna be structured, we should be able to do the gap financing. Another thing that I'm gonna bring to the board next month so we can talk to them in more detail is maybe getting us another CHOTO, so that we're eligible for all of the home funding, and just using the previous documents as an example of what we want to change to strengthen the CHOTO, but also keep it under the guise of the housing authority.
Zalika, can you just, for those who aren't as familiar, can you just talk about what a CHOTO is?
Yeah, I'm sorry. A CHOTO is a nonprofit 501(c)(3) entity that's formed by most housing authorities so that they can use it when they're doing development. CHOTOs have to be in a specific jurisdiction, and then the cities and the counties can award them home funding. Home funding is available for housing authorities and other nonprofits, but you can only get a certain percentage. But when you're a CHOTO, it opens you up to be eligible to get 100%, and then have it for other uses, so it's a bigger pot of money. And then that comes into play when you actually do the development, because most of the developments have a general partner, a limited partner, and an investor partner. So the CHOTO and the housing authority can both be entities, controlling entities, and then have that investor partner for like tax credits and things like that. So it allows us to have ownership in 2 different ways and opens up more funding. It's a good thing to have. It's just by being, because it don't have to have a separate board, but it's a criteria that the board have to meet. So when you set it up, you just want to be careful that you put things in the bylaws that is going to keep it in line with the rest of your entities. So you don't have to worry about properties or ownerships or monies, kind of getting away from the organization. But I already got some ideas on that, so we'll have a full packet on it. But the city has they have some funding, and I do want to say, just before we go to the next person, we've been getting a lot of calls. It's a lot of interest out there and people working with us. So I think 2024 is gonna look a lot different for development moving forward than it has, because a lot of people are reaching out, land, funding, just trying to help out. So it's gonna be interesting to kind of see where all that lands.
That's exciting. Any other questions on the executive director's report here? Okay, well, we're gonna move on. Item 8 is the resolution relating to the agreement with the union. Zuleika, are we gonna table this until after the closed session?
Actually, Mike had, not this Mike, but Mike, who worked with us on the union, has another engagement too. So is it possible that we can do a closed session to go ahead and address this and then come back out and make a decision?
Anything for Mike?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, well, let's go into closed session for Ed.
Right.
The board met in closed session per government code section 54957.6 in relation to labor negotiations. And we have nothing to report out, but we are reconvening. And we are going to take up item 8A, which is resolution 3096. Ratification of the agreement with the Service Employee International Union Local 521 and authorization of the negotiation team to enter into the agreement on behalf of the Housing Authority of the County of Monterey. So I would open it up to discussion from commissioners or if anyone was interested in making a motion.
I'll move approval of resolution 3096.
Second.
Great. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please, Zuleika.
Sarah Hans Buder.
Yes.
We need to call for a public comment, Chair. Sorry.
Oh, public comment.
Okay. Public comment on item 8A. Okay, hearing none, we'll take up the resolution. The roll call.
Sarah Hans Buder,
Yes.
Commissioner Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
Yes,
Commissioner Maria Orozco.
Yes.
Commissioner Yuri Anderson.
Yes.
That concludes the roll call vote.
Okay, well, we have an agreement. Let's move to section 9, which is information items, and we're going to start with item 9A, which is the human resource report.
Good evening, everyone. So a lot of the big one that we just did was conclusion of the union ratification as far as between the SEIU and HACM. So we're happy that that MOU got approved as of today. And then the next topic that I want to kind of discuss with you guys, we did a student internship with Monterey High School. We had 2 students that had to kind of volunteer to the 20-hour kind of job shadowing course. It was kind of fun to see their kind of perspective into it. They were very kind of intrigued as far as how we operate as an agency. We also did this before with the Workforce Development Board. We had a group of about 7 of them, but these 2 are from the high school. And so, you know, they're more intrigued and more inclined to ask questions and kind of poke interest into the departments that we have across the agency. Some of them spend time with the team meetings in Section 8. Some of them spend time with us in HR, and then also had some privilege to spend time with the executive director as well to kind of get to know a little bit more about the agency. It has been concluded. It was only for 1 week, which is the first week of October, but they really enjoyed themselves. The feedback is what I got from both of them, and we're hoping to continue to have that partnership with other schools throughout Monterey County as well. The next one is Yardi training. We did launch last month our Aspire training platform, which we had for quite some time on Yardi. We're actually utilizing that kind of platform to maximize the learning capabilities that is offered on that through Yardi for our employees. Each department has a specific learning plan that is developed to enhance kind of the overall understanding of how to operate Yardi. So there's videos, there's kind of webinars that they can go through. So that's what we're doing. So a lot of them have actually jumped on. They actually created the learning plan, and they're going through the videos as we speak. Recruiting efforts have been continuously going on since we made the change and the board approved the increase on the director of housing programs. We did get some applicants, and I will go over that with Zalika later on this week. We got a total of 8. Some of them are coming from LinkedIn, and then other coming through our Paylocity app that we have launched that out. So we're looking forward to getting some prospects as far as those candidates solid. And then also right now, we do have the housing program analyst position that we had open. We actually filled that position internally. Someone got promoted from finance into Section 8. So we would like to congratulate Giovanna Daigle. So she'll be starting effective October 30th in that department. We did terminate 3 employees, Janice, which is our temporary employee that was in finance, Vanessa Garcia, our finance specialist, and Diane Solorio, which is our HPS in Section 8. Right now, currently, our temporary employees are Brian and Priscilla. As I mentioned to you last month, we did have a total of 14, so we're getting slowly down with the temporary employees and hopefully having a more permanent role within the agency. Workplace issues, we still right now maintain a claim of 2. Closed claims are 3. We did close out 1 recently. Employee relations, we did win and close down 1, and altogether for this year, we've closed 3. That concludes the HR report unless there's any questions from the commissioners.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I guess hearing any questions?
No.
We may have mentioned this in a recent meeting, but the 5 workplace safety claims for this year feels like a lot. Especially for a team that has, whatever it is, 65 or 70 employees. And I don't know what, half of that in property management. But any insight into why so many this year? Or is it random? And I guess kind of what steps are you guys taking on that front?
So a lot of it is random throughout. Most of it actually comes through the maintenance department. So I'm working with Jose and Ricardo to kind of address those concerns and kind of initiate some safety training courses for the team and kind of do more of a refresher course for all of them to take again. But it's kind of like the basic kind of fundamentals of safety, right? Bending, squatting correctly, lifting things up correctly, twisting, things like that we kind of take for granted at times. But yes, those are definitely looking into through management.
Okay. All right. I guess moving on to the finance report.
Well, good evening, everybody. Good to see you and to be with you. As far as our audit progress, we continue to make slow, steady progress. I had a discussion with Zulika today with Kim. Kim is our audit manager, and we really would like to bring 22 to a conclusion And that date that we're looking at right now, I went back to the audit partner and am pushing back and asking for them to give me a better best case solution. It's really probably only the difference of 2 weeks, but because we have some important transactions that are pending, the audit being finished, 2 weeks makes a difference. So I've asked if they could give us a best case and whether or not they would, of course, want to charge more money, right? So we'll see how that turns out, because we're just all waiting to get these audits completed, because there's money attached to them and connected off to different aspects of the agency. So audits number one, everybody's working on those. As far as the fact that we did have our QAD audit, and Zulika's been working very hard with the Section 8 department to make sure that everybody up the stream from the persons working in the Section 8 department all the way up to finance, who takes the numbers that they generate and turn them into HUD. We're trying to clean up that entire process, and I think we've made good progress. We have Myra's kind of been leading our team, and we have some written procedures and flow charts and this type of thing. So we have an agreed upon chart that we fill out that we provide to BDO, to Brian, who's our specialist who handles this aspect of the housing. And I think, Myra, do you think we made progress?
I think so. Working together.
Yeah, I really feel that we know what we're doing now, and it should be much smoother. Now we're trying to get to a point where, and it'll be a few more months probably, as you folks know, last month you approved the use of BDO as a third-party outsourcing, and the two folks that were terminated from the finance department are now being slowly replaced, and we're integrating BDO to do those functions. I'm hoping that we'll be able to clean up those sets of financials and make sure nothing is amiss, that we're clean all the way through. And what that does is it really will reduce the kind of the stress that's on my supervisor, who manages all the properties from a general ledger perspective. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the benefits of having some true professionals on our staff, and we were trying to get by with people who really weren't qualified, and they had professional level pay and expectations, but in many cases weren't able to live up to those expectations. So this is really going to help us get to a higher level. And in that case, we would be in a position to share the information that we're generating each month with people like Jose and Nora and Carolina when she's back, and try to get closer to our customer and let them share in the numbers so that it becomes truly a joint process. The budgets have become more of that this year, where we're sharing that burden together so that we both have knowledge of the process. But it's just, I think, going to get better as time goes on. We were also having some discussions internally with Zulika and her staff regarding expenditures and who can spend what, who can approve what, who can, there's a chart of authority. And so we made changes earlier in the year. We may need to make some additional changes, but I think the word is for all managers to be very careful and astute about spending, and making sure that what they are spending is properly approved. And maybe even go the extra mile to, even if you have permission to spend money, make sure that you're aligned with Zulika, so that you don't get kind of whipsawed later and why did you spend that money? Yes, you had the authority to, but we never talked. Mm-hmm. We want to avoid that kind of situation, because every penny truly is precious in the condition we're in. Hopefully within 6 months, a year, cash will not be as difficult to find, but it is difficult right now. So that is a major focus for us. As far as the the financial package, I think what we'll find as we go forward, BDO has a lot of experience with putting out financial packages. Where they have tools that can pull data and show it in a certain manner from Yardi. And they're offering to help us revise our package and upgrade it so it looks more professional. And so it'll make it easier for you to read and determine what's going on. This particular month in the HACM part of the world, our revenue was $5.5 million, which was at the budgeted level. Our year-to-date revenue actually was favorable. August operating expenses, of course, when you have more, typically the fact that you're getting more money means that you're probably paying out more money. So in this particular period, our revenue was up, but our HAP payments were also up. So in fact, we were in a bit of a, if you see on the dot point there, August was a loss of $280,000. With the year to date at about 200,000. So that's not bad. But we'd certainly like to be in the positive. And again, some of these numbers are not linear in the sense that if something happens on the right hand, it doesn't necessarily reflect itself on the left hand, as you know. So it's possible to have timing differences, and then you see that in your year-to-date numbers. So that's kind of what's going on here in August. So the year-to-date budget for our net income for HACM was a couple of $100,000, $200,000. We were actually about $400,000 unfavorable, so that's a bit of a swing. For HDC, we have a fairly significant number in the HDC budget related to basically developing new properties, right? And right now, we're not seeing that income come through yet, so there is a significant timing difference, which is what drives the net loss for HDC year-to-date at about $200,000. So for the agency year-to-date, if you add both together, we're at about a $400,000 loss. And I'd like to obviously see that be positive, have hopes for the future. But for right now, I'll take it and move forward. Do you have any other questions? All right, well, I appreciate you listening to me and look forward next month.
Thanks, Mike.
One question.
Oh, we got one question.
Sorry. Mike, if you could just help me understand, reconcile in my mind what you just said in terms of we're at about a $400,000 loss with the last sentence of your report, where you have the 340 and the 400,000. I don't understand in my mind how to put those two together.
Yeah. So basically, if we take the 2H, I tend to think of the entire umbrella of your responsibility is really two balloons, right? We have the voucher side of the world, and then we have the development side. And I tend to talk about two different bottom lines.
Right.
And then when we add them together, that's where we're at. As a total, we're at about $400,000 unfavorable year to date.
Okay.
So.
And what is the 340 there? The 0.34?
Yeah, so that's an August number.
Okay.
Total entity.
And the 400,000 is the
year to date.
Year to date.
Yeah.
Got you. Thank you.
And in the future, we're going to be using some different formats, which will focus on, so you can see the month and the year to date. Right now, this is the format that we use this month is a bit confusing. So I even had a hard time pulling the numbers out. So it'll look different next month.
Thank you for indulging.
Okay, we're going to move on to the property management report.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Want to start by saying that we've been working with different investors. They've been visiting our properties. We had a visit from NEF. We had a physical inspection from them. We completed all their questionnaires and we uploaded a lot of the information. because they showed up at the property on the day that we were closed, a holiday, so they did a physical inspection, and then we uploaded pictures of the interior of the units. We also had a visit by CREA for Haciendas 3, which is another investor, that was completed. And we had a file audit by CREA in the property for Castroville. We submitted everything. We're just waiting on their response. We completed the bank setup for all the properties for Rent Cafe. So I worked with Beatriz and Mike to get that completed. We just need to verify the accounts now so that tenants are able to pay their rents online via Rent Cafe. So that should be done this week in verification of those accounts. I also met with MBS, which is a third-party vendor that is going to help us to with the scanning of all the tax credit files. They're going to be providing an estimate this week. I talked to them Friday of last week, and we should have that estimate this week to determine if that's something we can afford to scan all the files for the tax credit properties into electronic format. We're also working at the King City Migrant Center. We had a visit from the state representative. He inspected the work that has been done at the center up to now. He was okay with all the work. So we received new invoices from the contractor, which we are going to be processing so the state can release the funds and get reimbursed for those expenses. So Delana has those invoices already signed.
The good news about that particular release is that it's gonna free up at least $600,000 for the agency.
Yes.
So it'll be huge.
Yes, so that's good news. So everything went well with that. We're also working a couple of changes in that center. They're going to be closing the center November 6th. So we have to move out 75 families are at the center in one day. So it's going to be a big task. And then we have to start the process for the closure for the center. So that's being worked on right now and it's being planned. We are not going to have an extension because we don't have enough interest from the current tenants to stay for an additional 30 days. We're also working with HDC. Solica approved some capital improvements for one of the properties in South County. So we're doing the fencing that's already being scheduled. And that's going to be a huge improvement and much needed improvement for the property in South County. We are also completing the city data upload. So the city of Salinas is working on the year 2019-2020 for their reporting. We uploaded everything to them. So we're just pending the results from their audit, and then I will let the board and Solica know the results. Then we also completed interviews for the caretakers. We have 3 vacancies right now for caretakers. We completed those interviews today and we got some candidates. So we hope to have those caretaker positions and units hopefully in the next week or so. We'll provide the names to Daniel and James so they can do the move-ins. And then I've continued working with Solica on the project for PDM. And that's all I have, unless the board has any questions.
Jose, could you let them know some of the stuff that you put in place as far as working with the vacancies?
Yes, so right now I'm also in the process of reorganizing the department, reorganizing the department in order to be more effective with the vacancies. We have been working very diligently to try to house the vacancies. We've run into some hiccups. There's a lot of people on the wait list that are stale that we haven't cleaned up the wait list in a long time. So we're kind of cleaning all the waiting lists, and we're going to be reopening wait lists and keeping those wait lists updated so that we don't run into these issues in the near future, and we're able to get new applicants consistently. We're also going to be doing a little bit of outreach, and we are going to plan some orientations where we're going to mass call people from the waiting list so that we can see them on the day, get those people that are qualified and interested. And then those that don't show up and are not eligible, remove from the waiting list. That way we can keep interested and eligible applicants on the waiting list. And that will help us expedite the process. We've also been working with Section 8. Half of those units that we have right now that are vacant are pending project-based applicants. So we are working with them to try to expedite the process and make sure that we're able to house those units at a faster rate. So we're trying and we are committed, and we know the importance of having those units leased. So we will be working on that front to get those units housed as soon as possible.
Thanks, Jose. Any questions for Jose on the property management report?
I have one. I was wondering, and so are a lot of other residents, how the security repair in our front door is coming along.
The only thing that we're pending, Commissioner, is the delivery of the door. Unfortunately, we had a couple of vendors that were not able to deliver the door, and that kind of delayed the completion of the repair. But that, for what I'm being told, it should be done no later than 2 weeks from now.
Okay, I'm not understanding something. When the system was first installed, we were able to have it secured. So that's no longer an option?
No, it is. It's just that right now that we have an issue with the readers and the strikers on the door.
Okay.
So the problem is that the frame, the metal frame that's in the door, we can't install a new striker on it. So we have to replace the whole encasing of the door.
Okay.
And it's a big task, because then we need to update the wiring inside that casing, and we need to fix the striker to be able to be compatible with our new system so that everything works flawlessly. Because right now, it might work sometimes and sometimes it doesn't work. So that's why we need to replace that. The problem is getting a hold of that material.
Okay, and
That's
bringing
the
everything up
challenge.
to date. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
I also have a question, Chair.
Yeah, go for it.
You'll forgive me, it's coming into conversations that have been going on for a long time. I'm just trying to understand. So you mentioned the King City Migrant Center is closing and you're relocating 70 or 72 families in a day. And I'm just gonna understand what that is. What does that entail?
The King City Migrant Center is only open
The
6
season.
months, 6 months.
The season.
It's only for the season.
Okay.
So the people that reside at the center migrate. So they normally arrive at the end of April, beginning of May. That's when the center reopens. And that's when we leased up the 80 units at the site.
Okay.
So at the end of the season, which is going to be at the end of this month, they move out of the units and they go back to Arizona, depending where they come from. But they move on their own. We don't relocate them. We just move them out of the units.
Okay.
And then the center remains closed for the remainder 6 months. That's when we do our reporting,
Stuff that's listed.
cleanup and all that. And the rehab is happening at the same time right now that the tenants are living there. So right now that the center is going to be closed, there's things that we need to do inside the units, like replacing the water heaters, doing some of the work inside that we weren't able to do because the tenants were in the units.
Mhm.
And right now the center is going to be closed. So that gives us ability to go into the units without, disturbing residents and work late and be able to get all those other items that are pending on the rehab completed.
Thank you. Yeah, I just heard that and I was like, we're displacing 17 people, like, and everyone's just sitting here like, okay.
No, that's a center. It happens every year, and it's a big task because we do have to move in 70 families. I mean, 70 to 80 families in one day. Same thing when we move them in, we have orientations and we move them all in one day.
Wow.
So it's a huge task, and I mean, luckily right now, the staff that we have is being able to follow those processes and they're used to that process. So they have a system already in place to get all that done, but it's a lot of work. Cool.
Thank you.
And these are families that have been coming to the center for years now. It's
Yeah.
not new families or.
It's a combination, because we have returning families that normally have been returning every year for the last 5, 6, 10 years.
Okay.
But then we also have some that are completely new, they've never been in the center, this is their first time, so.
And then, sorry, last meeting, we had significant conversation about the Salinas property and the USDA, and I didn't see that anywhere in.
It hasn't been resolved yet. We still waiting on approval from the USDA. So we really kind of at a standstill till we see what they're gonna approve the rents for, but they're supposed to do it by the end of this month. So we should know something in the next 2 weeks.
We have to provide residents with a 60 days notice, so we're hoping they give us a response by the end of this month.
Yeah, because I've been concerned, I know that it was talking about those rents becoming effective in January, but it seems like it.
It's supposed to be January 2020. Well, it depends on when they send the approval. If they late on it, they have to let us push it back. So.
Okay. Well, if there are no further questions, we're gonna move on to item 9D, which is the development report.
Good evening, commissioners. I think a few highlights. The development department is near the ending of submitting all the required documentation for the Hudson Capital Contribution number 3. There's a few items that are outstanding. Audits is one of them, but we're almost there. We have a target date that we're trying to reach, which is the first week or so of November, so we can immediately roll right into conversion. Same thing with our conversion. We have a target date of November 15th. That's all contingent of when we get our audits completed and submitted to our investors for review, because then we'll roll right into place in service if everything goes as planned, as Zulika is pushing for. We are also working on finalizing the last few budgets that are outstanding. They're all due next week for all 19 limited partnerships. We're down to our last 6. So everybody's been doing a great job helping pushing those through. For the Tynan Village construction defect work that's being done in Building C, we're up to 25% of that work being completed. There is some additional work that has been identified. We're waiting on a document that explains the detail of that extensive work. And then once that comes through, we'll share those details with the board. Lastly, I'd like to highlight that we've started conversations with Milestone Housing to look at some of the developments that we have planned to look at for a potential pipeline, to include the Division Street lot here in town and the lot on Laurel Extension. Everything else is inside the development report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions on the development report from commissioners? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to the housing programs report.
All right, the housing programs report. Currently, we have 285 voucher holders that are seeking housing for all programs, excluding EHB. EHB has 132. These are the actual numbers, and this is good because before, due to some of the VMS errors, these numbers were overinflated. But now this is the actual number of people that's out in the county trying to find housing. And so it give us a better idea of the type of pool that we're looking at. We spent $4,133,986 in HAP for the month of September. And then we spent $50,326 for the mainstream program and $425,025 for the EHV program. EHV will be running out December 31st, so we're keeping a tight watch on that. And I do feel confident to say we'll reach 100% of the 269 because right now, I think actually as of today, we have about 230. So we only have 39 more to go. And we have 132 vouchers out on the street. We are working to clear up the VMS by making sure that the HQS inspections are up to date, which we had 138. We had 116 that were in PIC. We are also working on the 0 HAP units. Those are the people who they had a voucher, but financially they don't need it anymore. So they get to stay on the program for 6 months. At the end of the 6 months, you're supposed to take them off the program. That had not been being done. So now that's a monthly task that someone has to perform. And also on the income changes prior to the expiration date, it's gonna be a schedule and a calendar for the analyst and for the supervisor. We're also looking at the abated units. For the Hartnell event, we ended up vouchering 145 people. And that was the event that we had on the 17th and the 20th. For PBVs, we're actually at 680 for the month of September. And we have gotten the waiting list down to 432 applications, which we plan on clearing out before the end of this year. For issued vouchers for September, we have 221. For lease units, we had 63. And see, total surgeon, I don't care about that. For the foster youth program, we're slowly but surely increasing. We have 2 people housed and 3 people searching. So that's good because again, that was at 0. But I'm really glad to say, I think we're gonna surpass the 221 for October for the number of vouchers issued. But we're growing in that, and the team is getting a better strategy of how to handle it so they're not so overwhelmed when we do it. And then we just still cleaning up on the intake side for the lease up. The biggest problem is getting the leases from the landlords. They turn in everything, the rafters, all of that, but they have to turn the lease in for us to do the action that show the person that's in the unit. And for some reason, it's just really hard to get them to turn that in. But we're working on it. Hopefully we'll see what that hiccup is and try to talk to them to get it done faster. We are at 73% utilized overall for the HCV program because we have 3,599 vouchers out. BASH has 261. Mainstream has 39. Family Unification has 39. EHV at the time of this report had 220 and the foster youth had 2. So we're increasing, we're getting more workflow patterns in place where people really understand like their role and how to push the vouchers from the waiting list all the way to Lisa to the caseworker. So that's helping out. We just still got some Yardi bugs that we're working on. So these numbers are gonna adjust, but my theory is that they're gonna adjust up because it's little things that the staff is not doing, and so then the actions are not being counted. So I think our numbers actually are a little higher than what we reported. But hopefully we'll have that resolved. We got a couple of meetings ongoing with Yardi, and I'm hoping to have all of it final by the end of November. Then attached, again, just for your informational purposes, is some of the letters and documents that we get from HUD monthly, just saying how much money they're depositing in for what programs and what the proration rates are. So this one is for Mainstream actually, and they got a budget authority of $698 for that 1 month, but that's because this program only has 59 vouchers. So that's actually good for them because they only have 59 vouchers on the contract. FSS. The FSS program has grown immensely. We had a graduate in September. We had 1 forfeiture account. We cleared up the escrow balance and the forfeitures coming all the way from 2007 all the way up to 2023 to make sure that all of those balances are correct. They're doing presentations weekly. They are out doing a lot of outreach. They're gonna have a traveling mobile clinic to go to some of the properties to do exams for the residents. And they're gonna have their first PCC meeting. They have to have a program coordinating committee meeting twice a year. So they'll have the first one in November. And let's see, other than that, they really are doing well on enrollment. Because when they got the program, it was 65 people, and now I think it's at like 92. Yeah, and that was within this year when they actually inherited the program. So that's basically it for my section 8. report. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
Questions for Zulika?
I have a very elementary question. So on the cumulative overall success rate, we're at 69%. Do we have a like a mandated goal, and do we have an organizational goal?
HUD would like you to always be at 70%. Anything under 70% really jeopardizes your budget authority. We were at 40 something when the year started. So they have noted our progress. Internally, we have a goal of being at least 97%. That's really the standard that you try to achieve is 97. And we can get there. Three things gotta happen. One, we gotta clear out this Yardi issue, which I think we're like 80% done with that. More so now, I think it's on the user's end than the software itself. We had to improve teamwork within the department, which I've seen that kind of come together more. And then just having everybody understand the process. A lot of people been working here for a long time in the Section 8 program, but after talking to them, they really didn't understand the life cycle of the voucher. So having everybody now having these bi-weekly meetings, so we can sit and go, you know, when you're on the waiting list, this is how it travels. And then showing the functions too. As it's traveling through eligibility, these are the Yardi functions. As it gets to inspection, this is what they should see when they get it. This is how it should look when it leaves. And it's just regurgitating that over and over just to get it in, you know, to make it normal for them. It was not normal when I first got here. So they're better equipped to handle the program now. And I think that's reflective of the numbers, how they're increasing. The least number, like I said, is the one that's the most concerning because we're trying to get the utilization up. But the major issue seems to be getting the leases from the landlords because we had a meeting today and we have 32 files where we did the inspections. The people have moved in, the house passed, but the landlords have not sent the leases and they've made 3 phone call attempts to ask them to send it so that we could process their payment and count the voucher in the
payment until they get their leases in.
Yeah, they can't get it. It had to sit there. And then what happened, they end up calling, you haven't paid us for 3 months. Well, we have documented, we're calling you almost every week, sometimes twice a week, you know, asking for the lease. But I don't understand that part. So we're still working on that. We're reaching out to the tenants too. That was one thing. They weren't asking the tenants. I told them to ask the tenants as well. Because we don't want the payments to get behind. That causes a lot of issues too. Yeah, but that's our biggest disconnect right now is actually getting the lease when the unit passes inspection.
Congratulations to you and the team for that.
Great work.
Thank you. Everybody's been working really hard.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting if you look at, you know, I think we had leadership shakeup around May. You know, I remember asking, what is the deal? You know, we're trying to lease up all these units and we had 17 issued vouchers or something. And, you know, now you can see the trend line there up to 221 in September. So that's great to see. Any other questions for the housing programs report? Okay, that's our last informational report here. So I'm going to offer some public comment. Does anyone from the public have a comment on the informational reports? It looks like, Gabby, it looks like we're seeing someone on Zoom here.
Yeah, we have someone named Carla with their hand up. Hi, Carla, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you. My question with regards to the reports are currently how many outstanding vouchers, the emergency vouchers that we haven't been able to place and have taken back. And at the end of the year, I know that if those vouchers, if they're not homed, some will be taken back and we won't be able to no longer have those vouchers. So I just want clarification on that, if that happens at the end of the year and how close to that goal, if if we have an internal goal. I know that I heard an individual talking about that there is an internal goal that the housing department has, and what that is to make sure that we don't lose those vouchers at the end of the year. Also, a comment with regards to the lease that aren't being turned in by landlords. I think that the lack of communication between housing and the landlords is needs to be a little streamlined, a little better. I know individuals that have, as landlords, have contacted the housing department and has not been able to get through anyone that's able to take the information, or they've had to email it, then mail it. And so there's different steps that the landlord and the occupant don't have clear communication from the housing department. So I don't know if that communication is being streamlined, or it can be streamlined so that there is no hiccup on trying to collect those documentations. I had a situation where in years past, it's come down to an audit where a case manager has reached out to an occupant and asked for required documents that should have been asked at the point of rental, meaning after the inspection, after the lease has been completed and signed. And so I believe it's just communication going out that's not happening in a clear manner. So perhaps we can talk about solutions in order for us to have that more of a streamlined communication between the landlord, the occupant, and the housing department. Because when you're going through emergency vouchers, you have a third party, you have a case manager or anything in between, and then you lose communication within that aspect as well. So that's where I'm finding some occupants and some landlords when I'm speaking and getting information from them to see where the hiccups can be. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you for that. And just from my own, understanding, Carla, are you on the staff here, or?
I'm not. I just know I'm an active community member throughout of Monterey County, and I live in Seaside. And so I know a lot of individuals that are on the emergency Section 8 and the regular Section 8 vouchers. And so what I'm learning with a lot of the unhoused individuals within the Monterey County is that streamlined information, especially if you're going from a case management to the housing, through the coalition, through the housing, and then the last step is the housing. And those steps in between is where the hiccups are. We're finding the hiccups. I work with Central Coast Democratic Socialists of America. We're a nonprofit organization that does a lot of on the floor work. And so a lot of those communications that come through are that streamlined communication, but also the resources. It seems like there's a lack of conversations happening on where the resources can be had, but where to get the information from the resources, because case managers don't know all of it. And then you have landlords that are trying to figure it out. And there's a great incentive right now for landlords that you can get additional money if you are a first-time landlord for a Section 8, specifically the emergency voucher Section 8. Mm-hmm. And so that's information that a lot of landlords don't have at all. I mean, and then also the stigma of not being able to be housed because you get a 6 month period, and then you have to petition to get extended if you can't find that. And so with the list being outdated and not having clear communication with who is taking these vouchers, that's where the communication we're finding that is just not streamlining. Yeah. And so you have a lot of people running around scared, I may lose this voucher, I may not have it. Sure. And it's just that open communication. We don't have enough landlords that know the information to even take that chance to say, hey, I'll be a first-time landlord, I'll do it. And I can, I had a lady this year alone that it took about 3 months to convince a landlord to take a chance on an emergency voucher. Yeah. And they were a month before their 6 month deadline. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you, Carla. That's helpful. Very helpful. I would say I run a nonprofit that works exclusively with families with vouchers out of state. And actually, it's funny, when we started talking about how, the issue was getting a landlord to give us the lease. I'll be honest that my mind went to the same place, to all the housing authorities that I call over and over again, and nobody will pick up the phone, as a landlord and as somebody who's working with landlords. So, I'm sure that there's, some work to be done there, as well, which, obviously we need to focus on, as well. Okay. Any other, public comment, on the informational items? Any other commissioner comments on the informational items? Okay. We are going to move to closed session, and we have 3 items related to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D, subsection 2. Certain matters relating to litigation involving the Public Housing Board or agency.
I think our chair or our vice chair are here to close out the, I believe.
Yeah, because Hans had to leave, so who wants to, well, oh, that's this one. Yeah, so which commissioner would like to close out the meeting since the chair and the vice chair is not here?
Oh dear. I'll do it.
I guess.
Sorry. Are you the vice chair, Fran?
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
All right, so we are on item, let's see. Back to my 11 of the Housing Authority meeting. The board met in closed session on 3 items. There was no reportable action on that meeting. We are now at item 11, commissioner comments. Commissioner Goodman, do you have any comments this afternoon, evening?
On me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to thank the staff and Lizika for all their hard work, and all the commissioners for their input, and for everybody to help our issues be presented with clarity. And I know you guys work really hard, and it's not an easy task. And thank you for all the progress that has come since you guys have been on board. Thank you.
Commissioner Healy, do you have any comments this evening?
I would just say thank you to Zalika and the staff for organizing all the information we reviewed this evening, and congratulations to Carol, and definitely congratulations to the negotiating team. I think it was arriving at the MOU was a benefit to the agency and the employees.
Commissioner Roscoe, any comments?
Yeah, I just also want to thank the staff for your thorough reports. It's I know it's a task, but the information that you provide us has been very beneficial, at least for me, as I'm new to the board. So thank you. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
And I would echo the comments of appreciation. I appreciate you guys taking all of my newbie questions today, just trying to understand. There's so much information and so much nomenclature to learn, and really excited to get to have been a part of the action to approve the updated MOU with SEIU. It's great that we are coming to agreement with our labor team and everyone can move forward. So thank you. All right, with that, we have no more commissioner comments, and we will adjourn the meeting of the Housing Authority of County of Monterey at 7:29 p.m.
If everyone's open to it, I would propose, in the interest of brevity, that we just move directly into the HDC meeting and the TVI meeting so that we can work through the agenda, but I understand if everyone would like to take a brief bio break. Preferences?
I'm good.
Press on, press on.
Speaking my language there, Mike. Press on. So with that, I would convene the HDC meeting this evening, October 23rd at now 7:30 p.m. We'll dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Okay, Chair Kevin Healy,
Present.
Vice Chair Francine Goodwin,
Present.
Kathleen Ballesteros is absent today. Director Hans Buder had to leave, he's absent. Director Maria Orozco.
Present.
And Director Yuri Anderson.
Present.
That concludes the roll call vote.
And I believe despite the absences, that leaves us with a quorum. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. We'll move on to item 3, comments from the public. Do we have any comments from the public, either virtually or otherwise, Gabby?
Nobody in person. And no one with their hands up.
Very good. We'll move on from comments from the public to item number 4, the consent agenda. Entertain a motion on the minutes of the September 25th meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Anderson, seconded by Director Orozco. Roll call, please.
Chair Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Francine Goodwin,
Yes.
Director Maria Orozco.
Yes.
And Director Yuri Anderson.
Yes.
And that concludes the roll call vote.
Motion passes. That moves us to item 5, new business. Item 5A, HDC Resolution 230, resolution of the board, the Housing Development Corporation, authorizing access to accounts held by HDC with Pinnacle Bank. Take it away, Zulika.
Yeah, we need to do a resolution so that we can change the names on the bank. And we want, the last resolution had everybody by name. And so this one, actually have the positions on there. In the names on there as well to update it so that we can get access and determine what's best to move forward with that bank account.
Thank you for that. Are there questions for this item? Hearing none, I would just ask a question as it relates to the signatories for the revision on these bank accounts. I noticed, I think I noticed Commissioner or Director Buder was listed there. Would it be more appropriate that the chair, whomever that may be, of the HDC be listed as the third signatory on these accounts?
Yes, that should have been actually your name there.
But we're gonna have elections, so that's gonna
Mhm.
change.
So it's gonna change to whoever is elected as the chair tonight, your name will take that place.
Very good.
Should we
So with,
action on this resolution until the election? Or
We can
we
just
need to modify it
modify the motion.
to say whoever gets elected?
That the chair will take the place of Hans Buder.
There is one typo in the second to last whereas. There's just the EU as a director.
so I would therefore entertain an amended motion as it relates to the signatories.
So move.
Second.
I believe was moved, the amended motion was made by Director Orozco, seconded by Director Anderson. Roll call, please.
Chair Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Francine Goodwin,
Yes.
Director Maria Orozco.
Yes.
And Director Yuri Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes the vote.
Very good. Motion passes. Item 5B, annual election of officers. Zulika, please take it away.
Okay, for the direction, for the election of officers, we just need someone to nominate a fellow director for the chair position and for the vice chair position, and then we can do a roll call vote to determine if it passes and it will become effective for this meeting. Are there any nominations?
I would nominate Commissioner Goodwin to be the chair.
I'll second that nomination.
Okay.
Hey, Liz, I'm sorry, you just want to say something, Kevin?
No, I believe Francine was making a comment there, assuming that she accepts the nomination.
Okay.
Okay, it's been nominated and accepted. We'll do the roll call vote. Chair Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Francine Goodwin,
Yes.
Director Maria Orozco.
Yes.
And Director Yuri Anderson.
Yes.
The roll call has been completed and it passed. Ms. Francine, you are now the chair of the HDC Development Corp.
Okay.
Okay, now if we have any nominations for the vice chair.
I nominate Yuri Anderson.
Second.
All right, Ms. Yuri, do you accept?
I'm happy to serve.
Okay, the vice chair position has been nominated for Yuri Anderson. She has accepted, and then now we can do the roll call vote. Mr. Director Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Chair now, Francine Goodwin,
Yes.
Director Maria Orozco.
Yes.
And Director Yuri Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, the roll call vote has been concluded, and officially we now have a new chair, Ms. Francine Goodwin, and a new vice chair, Ms. Yuri Anderson. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you for your votes.
With that, I would pass the gavel to our new learned chair, Chair Goodwin, if you'd like to, or you'd like me to finish the meeting out. Either way, whatever your preference.
Can you finish the meeting out?
Absolutely.
Thank you. You
So,
do a good
of
job.
course. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That moves us to information items. Item 6A, any additions or revisions to the previously heard property management report?
No additions, nothing to add.
Thank you, Mr. Acosta. Moving us to item 6B, any additions or revisions or adjustments to the development report we heard just a little while ago?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Rubalcava. That brings us to item number 7, director comments. Let's finish with our new chair. So Director Orozco, please.
Finish with. Oh, no additional comments.
Thank you, Director Orozco. Director Anderson.
No additional comments.
And I have no additional comments. New Chair Goodwin, any comments for this meeting?
I just wanted to thank everybody for your nomination and your voting me in. I hope I can fit Director Healy's shoes, because it's just tall order. He does a fantastic job. So anyway, thank you for your confidence, and have a great rest of the week, and try and get some rest after tonight. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Director Goodwin. That brings us to adjournment for the HDC meeting. And Executive Director Boykin, correct me if I'm wrong, but with this most recently completed election, I believe that Chair Goodwin is now the chair of the Tynan Village Inc. organization as well, correct?
Yes, sir. Tynan Village Inc. mirrors the HDC board. So Ms. Goodwin is the chair and Ms. Anderson is the vice chair.
So Francine, as you may recall, this is a very lengthy and in-depth, involved meeting. If you would like to chair this very important meeting here annually, I would pass the gavel gleefully to you.
Okay, I'll do my best. Okay, call to order. Do I do that, or do you do that?
No, you'll do it, but one thing, Mr. Healy, you giving up your gavel just 1 second too quick. You still
Okay,
have to
good.
open this one and then we'll let it be known in the records that it switched over.
Okay,
So then Ms. Francine and Yuri would take over.
okay.
Allow
I'm
me
in a rush.
to call to order this meeting, annual meeting of Tynan Village Incorporated on October 23rd at 7:40 p.m. And as the former chair, I will gladly pass the gavel duties to the new chair, Director Goodwin.
Okay, so do I do roll call now?
No, ma'am, you just called me. Well, he just called it to order.
Okay,
So, I will do the roll call, then you will open it up for comments from the public and do the consent agenda.
okay.
Oh, and then the election at the end. They mirrored it last year. Yeah, but they just said it automatically did what HDC did, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so let me roll call. Well, Chair Francine Goodwin,
Here.
Vice
Present.
Chair Yuri Anderson,
Here.
Director Kevin Healy,
Present.
and Director Maria Arroz.
Present.
Okay. Ms. Francine, you gonna call for comments from the public?
Okay, are there any comments from the public?
No one-
Gabriella?
No one in person and no one online.
Okay. Okay, oops, sorry about that. I had these, my meetings in order, how much order, okay. Is there any new business election? Okay, we did the election of the officers already. So that is, been done, correct?
Yeah, so we're gonna do consent agenda next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did I skip something? I'm sorry.
That's fine. Just
Okay.
call
Okay,
for a motion on the consent agenda and you right back on track.
Okay, can we have a, motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So, okay, director's comments is next?
We do a roll call.
Yeah, I gotta do the roll
I'm
call.
sorry, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I'm new at this. Forgive me.
Okay, so
Yeah, okay, roll call, Chair, Healy.
oh, no, ma'am, you don't have to read it. I'll do it for you. I'm your assistant.
Oh, you're doing it. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
let me
sorry.
take care of you.
Forgive me. If I only had a brain.
Chair Francine Goodwin,
Yes,
Vice Chair Yuri Anderson,
Yes.
Director Kevin Healy,
Yes.
and Director Maria Orozco.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the end of the roll call vote, and it's passed the item passed. So now you're down to your new business.
okay, new business, election of officers.
Yes, ma'am, the new business was done under the HDC meeting. The board for HDC is mirrored with the Tynan Village Board in those elections. Ms. Francine Goodwin was made chair, Ms. Yuri Anderson was made vice chair. And so that is the same position that they will hold under this corporation.
Thank you.
Do we need to take a motion? Like,
No, they did it automatic,
the minutes show there was action taken.
okay. Well, we need a motion. If somebody, well, Ms. Francine, if you could ask if somebody could do a motion to accept that.
Would somebody, like to make a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay. So added. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say.
Oh, that's fine. So now we'll do the roll call vote.
Okay,
So Chair Francine Goodwin,
yes,
Vice Chair Yuri Anderson,
Yes.
Director Kevin Healy,
Yes.
and Director Maria Orozco.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes the roll call vote and it is passed, and congratulations again, ladies.
Thank you.
See you next year.
Yeah, really. Okay. Okay, I believe we're at, item 5, director comments. If I'm not mistaken, is that where we are?
Yes, ma'am. Number 6, director comments.
Well, that's adjournment, number 6. I think it is.
That'll, might have
On the
that.
Tynan,
Yeah.
minute,
Yeah.
agenda.
Oh, no, I picked up the wrong paper.
Yes. 6 is director comments, 7 adjournment.
Right.
Okay.
On the I have the Tynan, agenda
Yes.
printed
Yes.
out, and it's, director comments is number 5. I wanted to thank, everybody for their patience with my ignorance. I'll try and do better in the future. Thank God this meeting is only once a year. So anyway, and thank you. Anybody who would like to make a comment next?
I have no additional comments. This is Maria.
No comments from Yuri.
Okay.
Congratulations, Francine, and congratulations, Yuri. And we'll look forward to your leadership as we go forward.
Thank you, Director Healy. Is there anybody else that would, any other director that would like to make a comment or as a comment? No? Okay. So with that, I will adjourn at 7:46 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.